Welcome to My Time to Shine. I'm your host, Emily.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a lovely guest with us. He's been on the show before. We have my famous coach, Adam. I say you're famous because your Instagram followers have increased massively. Welcome back to the podcast. And today we've got a special episode for you. We're going to talk about how to stay on track over Christmas. Now, I think this is a really important topic because it's that time of year. Christmas is known for indulgences, binge eating, and a lot of peer pressure from families to eat the food that they put out. I know my granny, if I don't eat all that's on the plate, she'll tell me off. Welcome to the show, Adam. How are you feeling today? Sorry, you drink your coffee.
Sure. Yeah, very, very well, thank you. All good. So yeah, looking forward to this.
Oh, brilliant. First thing that comes to mind over the Christmas period, what would you say, the number one thing with your clients is that they sort of have in their heads that they freak out about, or, that comes to your head?
It's the number of social events, isn't it?
Yeah.
That pop up, and then the fear and the worry of undoing a lot of the work that they've done. So a lot of my clients are, they've got momentum, they're doing well, October, November, and it's like December's coming, and that fear of how to manage and navigate the social events whilst staying on track. I think that's people's biggest fear. But obviously, hopefully, a lot of what we're about to talk about can really help people.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's that kind of pressure, throughout any time of the year, especially, if you do like some kind of weight loss challenge or like a photo shoot. Like I know Jack, myself and I did a photo shoot challenge with yourself. It was incredible. And then we relaxed slightly too much. And now we're back on it again. But I feel like Christmas, it's another level of relaxation. You've got all your mulled wine, you've got the Baileys, you've got everywhere you go, things are advertised at you, like Lindt chocolate, statues of Santa and things. I just think it's more pressure this time of year to indulge.
It definitely is. But I think a big thing as well is, is just understanding that you are in control.
Mm-hmm.
So you are in control of all your actions. So, if you worked in an office environment, which most people probably listen to this are, this time of year, they're going to be bringing the trays of chocolate in. There's going to be temptations and all this sort of stuff. But it's almost just, telling people like you're in control just because they are there. I know they're tempting. Like you don't have to, because if you are listening to this and you are on a health kick, a health journey, like you're proactively really trying to improve your health, like you can always choose what you do. So you've always got the power to say no. I know it's hard and the temptation is there, but just because somebody brings something in doesn't mean you have to have it. Just because somebody offers you something doesn't mean you have to have it. So it's almost just having that strength of willpower sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the hardest things is that willpower. Like most people, I don't think they have it anyway. If you see a tray of donuts in the office, there was that program called Secret Eaters. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I literally love it. It's a good one, isn't it?
It's all on YouTube now, and I'm studying nutritional therapy at uni, and my teacher's like, watch that program. They are your clients. Watch Secret Eaters. So okay, I've been watching it, and they did this sort of study in an office where they brought out a tray of donuts, and they said, everyone help yourself. They didn't just bring out one tray. As soon as that was empty, they brought out 2 more trays, and the average donut consumption in the office per person was 4.5 or something like that. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I always use that show as I always say to people, like, if you had a GoPro strapped around your head all week and it filmed Monday to Sunday from the moment you wake up to the moment you went to sleep, do you think there's a chance that there might have been a few more calories that crept in than are reported on your MyFitnessPal? Pretty much everyone goes, yeah, there's a pretty strong chance because calories are just, they're so slippery, aren't they? They just slip in. Whether you go walk into Starbucks and you have their Christmas, I don't even know. I'm not into those things, but like the Christmas frappuccinos and stuff like that. They're laced with calories, aren't they? It's so easy to drink calories, eat calories. They're just everywhere.
They are. And I think even in terms of like I love to cook, And when I'm cooking, I'll just have a little taste. Just like, oh, it tastes good. Just have another taste just to check. And I think it's those little tastes when you're cooking, when you're making the kids' food. You know, we do a lot of baking with the boys because they just love to like make a mess and get their hands dirty. And I'm like, oh, just lick the bowl. Like it's those little licks, the extra things that, like, that's an extra 60 calories, that dollop of cream that you licked that you didn't track.
Yeah.
It's
All
mad.
adds up.
Yeah, it does. It does. And like you said with the drinks, I think that's a big target this time of year. I like the spice pumpkin, chocolate gingerbread house man drink with the extra cinnamon and dollop of cream. Like, can you choose an alternative? Like, is there a low calorie option or do you just not do it?
Mm. I mean, I think also it's absolutely fine to have those things because anybody listening to this now, and yourself and me, Emily, like your body right now, how you look, your body fat percentage, everything, you are a representation of all your habits and routines
Mhm.
the last few months and years. Like you are what you do the majority of the time. So if, I was, or you were to walk into Starbucks today and have one of those things, it's like life is short, isn't it? You have got to enjoy yourself sometimes. But then I think the key is just like getting straight back on track. I think the real problems occur when you keep having those things. So if like one of those fancy coffees in Starbucks is part of your daily routine and you get it every day after you drop the kids off, you go and get one, that's when problems creep in. So as long as you're having these treats and it is a treat, and then you go back to your higher standards of, you just go for a skinny flat white or black coffee, whatever it is, your normal coffee order, like it's absolutely fine. So you shouldn't feel guilty for having the things as long as it's not something that you do on a daily and a weekly basis again and again and again.
That's a big word, guilt. I think that's something very important to talk about actually, because a lot of people, they're really good. They're so strict, they lose a lot of weight and then they go off track. They have a little bit of a binge, they indulge in some of the things that they enjoy, but then they feel this epic amount. Because I used to do this myself, so I do know like how it feels. You feel this just incredible amount of shame and like guilt, like you've let yourself down. And I think trying to like flip that and emotionally be in an okay place with food, like, okay, so like you said, you have a little treat, but the majority of the time you're okay. And if you do slip up or fall off track, not feeling that incredible amount of shame and guilt, like
Mhm.
forgive yourself kind of thing.
Yeah. In that exact situation that we described, 99% of the problem is in your head. Like it's not actually like physiologically, like nobody drinks like a frappuccino and then gains body fat. I mean, it's not, but in your head, you might feel awful. You might feel guilty. You feel like you've broken your diet, but actually most of the damage is in your top 2 inches of the story that you're telling yourself. It's only when you only gain body fat because you overeat for a prolonged period of time. Like nobody gains body fat because they overeat for one day. So that's like, I guess from my side, being a coach and a trainer, is sometimes there's a big education aspect of just educating clients, like how do you gain body fat, like the science behind it, how much you have to overeat by. On the flip side, how much you have to undereat by, create a calorie deficit to lose weight. And we won't get into all of that, but those sort of numbers are like, you have to overeat by thousands of calories, week after week after week, which might look like, 300-400 calories a day, again and again and again. So when you just have one coffee or say you have a few Lindt chocolates watching TV, like that's absolutely fine as long as you get straight back on track.
Are the top 5 mistakes that people make over the Christmas season?
First of all, I would say a lot of people completely stop. So a lot of the healthy habits that they've got going, whether that's most likely gym, walking, whether they're a runner, they're doing really well and then it gets into December and they completely stop. So they lose all momentum. And so a big thing that I encourage to all my clients is keep momentum going in December. So a practical example is that if you're training 3 or 4 times a week, just train twice a week in December, but you keep the momentum going. the benefit of doing this is that when we roll into January, obviously everybody wants to get fitter and lose weight in January. If you've kept momentum going in December and you've kept going on those walks and you've kept showing up to the gym, even if it's not as much as you were doing before, it's so much easier to kick on in January. But the biggest problem most people have is that in December, they stop. They almost just like switch off like a light switch. They're doing really well. Everything stops and they're completely down tools for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So when they start in January, it's like they're riding a bike and they're just trying to go uphill straight. It just feels so hard because they've lost all their momentum. So you try and just keep showing up, and whether that is you just go for a walk, whether that's you go to the gym on the 27th after Christmas and Boxing Day. That's always a big day. I try and push clients like, enjoy your Christmas, enjoy your Boxing Day, but go and get back in that gym on the 27th. You don't even have to train hard. You don't have to lift heavy. You don't have to kill yourself, but just get in the gym. And if you can just clock in some sessions between like the 27th and the 1st of January, it just makes starting in the new year so much easier.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the hardest thing, was when you just come to a full stop. 1st of December hits, the advent calendar comes out, and it's like a Christmas countdown has begun.
Yeah. No, it's also just people need to understand that obviously loads of people lose weight. Very few people lose weight and then keep it off and then sustain that long term.
Yes.
But the only way that you will keep it off and get the weight off and keep it off long term is that if fitness, training, nutrition, it's something that you constantly do all year round. So if you were to have like a calendar of your whole year, there should be little that you got to cross, you got to tick every time that you went to the gym and every time you do something. Your whole calendar, every month, every week, there should be ticks in there. You show up every week. Whereas what most people's looks like is they go for a burst of showing up. They do it like 5 times a week, but then they'll have like 3 months off and they'll completely stop. Or some people have years off. And then obviously the longer that you stop and as soon as you lose momentum, the restart is so hard, the longer the break you have. So that's why I say if you can keep momentum in December, just keep showing up, even if it's a little bit, you'll find January so much easier.
What do you think about home workouts during that time?
Brilliant. If you haven't got time to get to the gym, like something is always better than nothing. I coach majority men now, and men are awful at like the all or nothing mentality. If they can't go to the gym, if they can't train heavy and hard and do a full session, they won't go. So sometimes I'm like, even if you could like go to the gym for just 20 minutes, like just do something, it's always better than nothing. And even if you're doing something at home, if you can just do press ups or body weight squats or something, the way that you will feel mentally having done that, you'll feel so much better. Because it's not always just about the calorie burn, is it? That's what most people think about.
Yeah.
It's about the mental benefits as well and how you change your physiology. You lower your cortisol as soon as you train, you release your endorphins. So a simple, even if it's something like a Joe Wicks YouTube video in your lounge, like it's going to make you feel better. And sometimes, even if it's not an intense workout, as soon as you work out, generally, what do you want to do? You want to go and eat better, don't you? So sometimes like it's the start of a positive cycle. So you do some movement in the morning, you walk, you do a workout, even if it's just a home workout. But as soon as you do that, you're like, right, I feel good. Okay, so now I want to go and eat a healthy breakfast. Brilliant. You go and eat a healthy breakfast. So then you feel better at lunch, you make better decisions, and it's all linked. But most people struggle because as soon as the training stops, that cycle normally slips into a negative cycle because they haven't got the training. So then they have a little bit of a snack, and then that leads to having more snacks, and then it gets into a negative spiral.
What would you say to someone who has fallen prey to that negative spiral? What would you say?
Just start. No matter how small, just start. Just do something, and then build it up over time. And I think sometimes people overthink about that. They overthink it and think, right, I can't start now. It's mid-November. I've got loads going on. And they think, oh, I'll start in January or start in February when I've got more time or stuff. But that often never happens. Do you know what I mean? Because then in January something else will happen. Something else will happen. So that ties back into my point is that you need to show up. You need to show up on the weeks when you're most busiest, when you're most stressed, when the kids are ill off school. You just need to keep showing up. And some days that's not perfection, but something is always better than nothing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a really hard thing, the perfection mindset, because it's too easy to fall prey to that and think, oh, if I can't do a whole hour in the gym, then it doesn't count, like nothing matters. But that's not life, is it? Especially during the Christmas period and during the winter season, people do get sick more and there is more pressure on you from your family to attend events. You know, you probably got your kids' nativity to go to and all these other things, and something is definitely better than nothing.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, that would be my first one. Keep momentum for sure. So if that was number one, probably number two would be to try and keep structure, because this is generally like people struggle at the weekend all throughout the year simply because they lack structure. So
Mm.
generally in the working week, they've got structure. They get up at the same time because they go to work. Maybe they've got school pickup. There's certain anchors in their day when they've got structure. As soon as that structure goes and maybe they have a lie in at the weekend or things change, everything falls off track.
Yeah.
December's similar. A lot of things change in December. So like you walk into Starbucks and you're tempted to get that chocolate croissant and all these sort of things, and people lose structure. So my second, tip would be keep as much structure as you can. And in my experience of coaching a lot of clients over the years, feel like if you can train early in the day, you're going to be more consistent, because obviously willpower diminishes throughout the day. And most people are busy with work and kids commitments, stuff like that. If you're relying on a 5, 6, 7 o'clock session, a lot of the time something's going to pop up and it's going to derail you. Whereas if you can just get into the habit of going to bed earlier, waking up earlier, looking after yourself first. It's like that whole analogy, when you're on an aeroplane, you pull down the oxygen mask, you look after yourself first. It's not selfish. You look after yourself first and then get on with your day. And the opposite with sort of treats. So try and train early, get it out of the way, and then if you're going to have a treat, try and save it till later in the day. So if you're walking into the office and someone's got donuts and all those temptations there, try and just say no. Say no earlier in the day. Be disciplined, keep to structure, because I recommend you have structure. You should have a rough plan. Everybody should. I'm going to eat my breakfast at this time. I'm going to have my lunch at this time. You might have a mid-morning snack at this time. Try and stick to that. And if you're going to have a treat, the best time to do would be later in the day. Go after your evening dinner, go and have something. Because the danger is if you have your treats earlier in the day, and you have that sugar and it touches your lips, you just crave more, don't you? And then the
Yeah.
whole day can go off track.
100%. That's it. And it sets off a cycle, doesn't it? What's your like little bit of advice for someone who really struggles with implementing structure? Because I think some people find it easier than others, and especially this time of year. Do you have any tips, like, on how to start having structure?
Well, you need to. There's no set way of doing it, so you don't have to eat it. So my schedule is different to your schedule. Like everybody's got individual factors, but you need to sit down and plan. And most
Mm.
people don't do this. Most people just generally wake up and try and be healthy. And it
Yeah.
just never works. So you have to sit down, you have to come up with a plan. And if for you, that means you have to eat breakfast before the school drops, that might be breakfast between 7:30, 7. And if you get a lunch break, 1 till 2, then you start to build your meals around that.
Yeah.
Um, but for a lot of people, I think, especially when they try to lose weight, one of the biggest mistakes they make is undereating earlier in the day. So they're consciously, the mindset goes, and I've heard this from so many clients. They say, I don't want to eat breakfast because I know I need to lose weight. So they skip breakfast. And then there's mid-morning. So they don't eat till like 11 or 12. And then they've got nothing prepared. And then they're hungry because they haven't eaten earlier in the day. So they're not going overindulge, whether that's a meal deal or something like that. And it ends up shooting themselves in the foot. So I actually encourage people to, I'm not anti-fasting, but I just found with a lot of clients feel like they do better with eating a breakfast, which consists of protein, which consists of fiber, which will stabilize their blood sugars throughout the day, than actually have a snack prepared with them. So actually eat as you've planned. So it's almost like making that mental shift from being like proactive, like you're in control, you're planning your food,
Yeah.
whereas most people live their lives with food as like being reactive. So they're constantly, it's like the last thing on their to-do list, isn't it? Like they'll go to work, they'll sort the kids out, and then when they get hungry, they'll quickly, like, where's food? And it's if
Yeah.
you live in a reactive state with food, you're never really going to make good decisions because it's so hard to go out and eat well, isn't it? Even if you're in the city centre, wherever you are, like there's so many temptations everywhere. So you have to plan, you have to be proactive. But yeah, definitely get more food in earlier in the day. So hopefully when you walk in from the office or you walk in at home, you're not absolutely starving, because if anybody
Yeah.
walks home and you're hungry, you're starving, you're going to go straight to the cupboard where all the kids' food is, and then you're going to snack and you're going to graze, aren't you? Like that's just what millions and millions of people do.
And like Cocoa Pops don't cut it for breakfast.
No.
Cocoa Pops, Rice Krispies, Frosted Flakes, I don't know, all the
Yeah, as
all those.
as a practical bit of advice, you want to have a high protein breakfast. And when I say high protein, 25, 30 grams of protein, like as a minute, that's what I call high protein. So even if you're having an egg, if you're having one egg, that's not high protein. You know, there's
Yeah.
not much protein in one egg. Go and have 3 eggs. You know, go and have some Greek yogurt or something like that. Go and have some whey protein in a smoothie. Go and have some eggs, some smoked salmon, something like that. That's a proper breakfast with high protein in, and you'll feel so much better for having that.
I agree with that. And also for children as well, because I was just thinking, you're saying about smoked salmon. We fed our boys, they had sardines on toast for breakfast this morning. It's the sardines you can get in tomato sauce. It's just chopped tomatoes, but they absolutely chowed it down. And I think as well as our own personal self, if you are a parent, like there is a massive difference when you give your child something a bit more nutrient dense for breakfast in their behaviour. Because I noticed that like we do allow the boys to have cereal from time to time, but most of the time they eat like, reasonably healthy. They have like eggs or sausages or something. And when they eat a nutrient dense breakfast, they're so much calmer.
Mm.
Yeah, and their moods are way more like chill. They're more like calm, and not that boys are calm, but
Yeah,
calmer.
sugar affects their little bodies it has far more impact than it has on ours, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We have a movie night every Friday night. We try and like put our phones away, sit down, watch a movie.
Oh.
But we always give Arthur sweets. He's got a little sneak cupboard and he gets to pick his sweets that he wants. And he'll go and have his Haribo or his chocolate, whatever it is. He loves it. But you'll sit like 20, 30 minutes later, he's a freaking nightmare. Like
Yeah.
he can't sit still, he's hyperactive, and you can literally see the sugar going through his veins, but you're just
Yeah.
like, and I do let him have sugar. I'm not like a PT who's OCD.
Not
There
any
is balance
time.
in our house, don't worry.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's like balance, isn't it? With children, allow them to have some things, just like how we do with ourselves, like finding that balance of, okay, having those little moments for enjoyment, but not feeling shame about it.
Yeah.
Which brings us to number 3. Have you got a number 3 of the top 5 mistakes people make?
Yeah, so number 3 would be trying to keep on top of your movement, your steps, because everybody's movement and steps drops off, and mainly because of the light, the dark.
Yeah.
But obviously December as a whole, I've read, I'm not sure how accurate it was, but it said, it was like a news article that said everybody on average eats an extra 200 to 500 calories throughout the month of December, which seems about right, doesn't it?
That does seem about right, because one of those frappuccinos is
Yeah,
about
it's hard.
that.
It's hard to argue with that stat. So
Yeah.
if you couple that with a drop off in movement in steps, it's only going to lead to you gaining body weight. So as much as possible, double down on trying to keep your movement up as much as possible. And I saw a quote I saw as well. Somebody said there's no such thing as bad weather, just poor clothes. If it is raining, if it is dark, just get a coat on, get a hat on, get some gloves on, get your walking boots on, and as long as you're like dressed appropriately, it's quite nice. What I find, I'm sure you can relate as well. It's quite nice walking in the rain. So try and not, completely let your steps fall off a cliff in December. Like try and get some movement in, and that's one of my tips I always give clients on Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Obviously, everybody's got to overindulge and enjoy it, but try and get out in the morning, with your family, go for a walk, take the dogs out. It's like one of the best things you can do. Get some fresh air and just generally get some movement in. Because a lot of people move a lot less, and then when you couple that with the extra calories, it's not a good combination. At least if you are going to have the extra calories, if your movement's at a good level, it's going to help offset that. Because I think a lot of people massively underestimate steps, like, and what it does for your daily calorie burn. So pretty much every client that I work with who's doing a body transformation program, they'll have the number one thing I'll give them is a movement goal, a step goal, then they'll have a training goal or a cardio goal. But the number one thing is steps. And I always say to everyone, like, steps and movement is far more important. You'll burn far more calories walking than you'll do in a single gym workout. Everyone always wants to do the gym
Yeah.
workouts and stuff like that, but your general movement is so important. And there's a huge difference in your calorie burn if somebody's doing, say, 3,000 steps or 8,000 steps. It makes a massive difference.
Yeah, is it an extra like 300 calories or 500 calories for 10k steps or something like
It,
that?
about right. It would depend on like the speed, the incline, and
Yeah.
factors as well, the individual, their body weight. But yeah, if it was around that number, but then if you think of, if you multiply that by 30, every day
Mm.
of the month, it's that whole compound effect. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah. 100%. I think that's a really important thing. And also in terms of weather, there's so many blooming YouTube videos now, like, oh, do a steps workout. There's a channel that I like called Get Fit with Rick, and he does a steps workout. So if it is a torrential condition, which we do get quite often in the UK, and it's dark, and I think specifically if you're a woman on your own, maybe you don't want to go out in the dark on your own, doing these steps videos, like, really, there is no excuse now, is there? Like, to get the
Mm.
steps in.
The other thing is walking pads as well, which has
Yeah.
been so popular the last couple of years. So if you don't know, um, it's not a treadmill, but it's literally just a small, tiny treadmill on a belt, and you can just put it behind the sofa. You can get them off Amazon now, like probably like £50. They used to be
Yeah.
like 100, but they're not a huge investment. But if you are somebody listening to this, or maybe you're a woman, like you just said, and you don't feel comfortable walking outside in the dark, like that would be a great investment in your
Yeah.
health. And it's so easy as well. Like, go and watch your favorite TV program at night, but rather than being sat on the sofa, just go and walk.
Yeah.
And if you just walk for 10 minutes every day, that's an extra 1,000 steps. If you can do 20 minutes, that's 2,000 steps. That's 14,000 steps a month. A week. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does. It all adds up. And it's enjoyable to sit there and, well, not sit there, walk there and watch your favorite program. It doesn't feel like exercise. And I'm thinking for those who are, maybe new to exercise and they have quite a substantial amount of weight to lose, and Christmas they find very hard anyway. Walking is probably the best place to start, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, because it's low
Yeah.
impact. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Number 4.
Number 4 would be to make sure that the phrase I always use is balance the books, like compensate for your calories. You
Oh.
can't go through the month of December knowing that you've got all your social events coming up. Realistically, you're going to have Christmas Day, Boxing Day, you're going to have a works Christmas do. You might have a meetup with your friends. You've got New Year's Eve. There might be 5 or 6 days at least when you're going to go way over your calorie goal.
Yeah.
Instead of, go and enjoy those days for what they are. And if you've got, 5 social events in, go and focus on the other 26 days. Now, there needs to be some days throughout your month of December when you lower your calories. You can't just eat what you're eating and then go and overindulge at the weekend and not expect to gain weight. So, excuse me. So sometimes it's a really good idea. And what I recommend to clients is almost coming up with like a template food plan for you. So say your normal calorie consumption was around 2,000 calories, but when you go for your nights out, you're going to be having 4,000 calories. It would be a really good idea to come up with, say, a 1,600 calorie food plan. It was super simple that you can just print off, put it on your fridge, and if you just follow that, you're going to stick to 1,600 calories. And like just 1 or 2 days a week, be strict. On the Mondays, on the Tuesdays, when you haven't got much on socially, just go and stick to your lower calorie food plan. You haven't got to count calories. You just follow your plan. Might be eggs on toast for breakfast, piece of fruit and a yogurt for your snack. Just something really simple that you can follow. And if you follow that, you're going to lower your calories, which then going to allow you the wiggle room at the weekend to go and overindulge. But the whole concept of calorie balancing or calorie borrowing, calorie banking, a lot of people are aware of, but it's just a really good tactic especially throughout December, to make sure you just keep a lid on things a little bit. Because without doing that, it's really easy to get carried away and for you to gain quite a bit of weight.
Yeah, that's it. Especially with all the snacking. Like, I know my grandparents used to have a table like throughout the whole of December with like chocolate nuts on and little chocolate qualities and stuff. I know quite a lot of families do that, have like a snack table out. So I think that's a really good idea. And like you said, you don't even need to track it. You just set that meal plan. You could ask ChatGPT to do it.
You could, yeah.
You don't even need to do it yourself.
Yeah, no excuse.
And then that could plan it out for you. I know someone who, before Christmas Day, they fast for 2 days completely. What do you think about that? Like preemptively, a Christmas Day fast, or like a starving yourself, or banking the calories? Like, do you need to fast, or do you just eat a little bit less, like you just said, before Christmas Day? Because I think the average, I've got this wrote down, the average calorie consumption on Christmas Day is 5,000 to 7,000 calories on that day, which is mad.
I've not heard of that before. My gut reaction when you're reading that out is that I don't like it. Sort of going to the extreme of fasting, because if you do fast, the way that you break your fast is just as important as the fast.
Yeah.
Now, if you're spending 1 or 2 days fasting on the 23rd or the 24th, and then the day that you break your fast is 5 to 7,000 calories in alcohol and chocolate, I'm not so much of a fan of that. I feel like it's quite an extreme approach. And it's almost like getting into that whole mindset to punish, to reward yourself, and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're doing what I just said of just lowering your calories a little bit, now within that, it might be a tactic of yours to, you could call it fasting, or you could just call it skipping your first meal. You could just skip breakfast for a couple of days and, skip that meal, and then just start your day each day at lunch, and maybe just have like 2 big meals. And that tactic, if you had 700 calories with each meal, 2 good meals, that would be like 1,400 calories. But I feel like doing that, you would wake up on Christmas not like famished, dehydrated.
Yeah.
Because then as well, this was my fifth point that we'll get onto in a second about the scale weight. If you took your scale weight after 2 days of fasting, it's going to be the lowest of lows.
Mm.
You then go and have 5 to 700 calories. The fluctuation in your weight is going to be absolutely enormous. Now, if you understand how the scales works, you understand why it fluctuates. But if you're not clued up on all the different factors involved in scale weight, you can like really, really freak yourself out by saying, oh my God, I've just
Yeah.
gained like 11 pounds in a day. Or that sort of number would be completely normal if
Yeah.
somebody did what you just said. They go, oh, I've gained 11 pounds of fat. And then the problem with that is then they're going low, they go really extreme again. And you end up being this cycle of like really extreme restriction and then binge, and restriction and then binge. And that's not a good place to be in. But yeah, the sort of the fifth point there was people freaking out over their scale weights in December. So whenever maybe they go out for a Christmas social, they have a bottomless brunch, they're going to have a really good time, they're going to have 4,000 calories easily, and then they get on the scales and go, oh my God, I've just gained like 5 pounds of body fat in a day. And they get really freaked out by that number, because as much as you try and educate people about the number on the scales, a lot of people's relationship with the scales is like deep rooted. A
Yeah.
lot of people, no matter what you tell them, what they do, they freak out when they see that number. So I guess sometimes what I try and do with clients is just educate them a little bit more about like what affects the number on the scales. So the number on the scales is not just a direct relationship not a direct correlation of your body fat. So just because your weight's gone up 5 pounds in a day, that does not mean you've gained 5 pounds of body fat. You might, if you've gone and eaten 5 pounds, you might have gained 1 pound of body fat, but along with that body fat comes your body holding on to glycogen, like stored carbohydrates in the muscle, in the liver, salt or sodium, and a lot of the foods that you consume around the Christmas period are going to be high in those. They make you hold on to water as well. Anything that's processed is generally as a higher fat content as well, along with the sodium and the sugar. All these things make you hold on to water. So a lot of the increase in the scale number is actually going to be water weight. Now, if you know this, it's no problem, because you know what comes on quick goes off quick. Now, if you just get back to your normal diet and you cut out the super processed foods, you cut out alcohol, you cut out the sugar, and you go and get your movements up, you go for your walks, I guarantee 3, 4, 5 days, huge chunk of that is gone. So if you
Mhm.
have that knowledge, you feel very calm, you understand what's going on. But a lot of people don't. So then they see the sharp increase,
Yeah.
and then they go, oh my gosh, I've just gained 5 pounds of body fat. So then they go super extreme again. So then they slash their calories, then they feel really guilty. And they're on this constant yo-yo of what we just said, of the restriction and the
Mm.
overindulging. And it's like a vicious cycle. And some clients that I work with, and you have their initial like call and consultation with them, they've been on this binge, restrict, bad relationship with the scales like their entire lives. Like their
Yeah.
whole lives, they've constantly been at this. Um, and there's a lot of steps that people need to go through to get off that roller coaster, but a huge part is education and just understanding like the science behind what happens, the how scale weight fluctuations are perfectly normal, and how you shouldn't be freaking out over the Christmas period if you do see that number. What's more concerning from a scale weight perspective is if like it slowly and steadily just constantly increases, because that
Mm.
generally shows that you're gaining body fat. But if you suddenly get a sharp increase like that, like I just said, what goes on quick comes off quick, and you shouldn't be alarmed about that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, because I went through a period of like, and I do this, I do weigh myself most days, to be honest. I go through phases where I weigh myself every day. It doesn't really impact me. It did used to a long time ago, but now it's just a number. It doesn't matter. But you see that, especially as a woman, especially around my cycle and, what I've eaten, if I've had a high carbohydrate day, if maybe I've eaten a bit more processed foods, or if I've just eaten really well that day, or if I've drank more water or had less sleep, or if I'm so achy from exercise, my weight will dramatically increase the next day by like 2 or 3 pounds. And, if I'm feeling really achy in my muscles, if I'm due on my period, if I haven't gone for a number 2 yet, like all these things will increase the weight. And I think the benefit, if you don't have any issues with the scales, of weighing yourself every day, is that you can see those fluctuations. And if you, like you said, see the increase, you need to rein it back in again. But if it's just going up and down daily and getting towards your target, it's very interesting to see.
The other thing is as well is that if somebody's listening to this podcast and they are somebody who has been on a fat loss journey and they've lost multiple stone, you've lost the body fat. When you lose body fat, you don't always completely get rid of the body fat cells. They always sometimes stay there. So
Mm.
anybody who has carried a lot of weight before but then lost weight, those individuals are always prone to the biggest scale weight fluctuations. So
Mhm.
their weight can really come up quite sharply, as opposed to somebody who's been lean their entire life and maybe they've got a decent amount of muscle. The weight they might go and overindulge. The weight might go up a bit. Everyone's does, but not as drastic as somebody who has lost a lot of weight and then come down. So again, that's
Mm.
just something to be mindful of, because if you're aware of this, you can manage it better. But if you're not, it can, that was my whole point. It can really play on people's minds and freak them out a little bit.
Yeah, and that's also interesting as well, like being genetically sort of predisposed to something. So I recently did some DNA testing, and in my genetics, I am predisposed to very easily gaining weight and overeating. That came up, and this was among many other things. But I can relate that to some issues, with my family members, maybe my parents. They both have, tendency to overeat and to indulge. It's really, really interesting. If I go back further than that, I know this is slightly off topic,
Go for
but
it.
if I go back to like my grandparents' generation, they were in workhouses and they was like dying of starvation, and their parents, like, no wonder for me, my body wants to store the fat, because generations, like epigenetics, you are what your grandparents ate. And if they didn't eat, your body's going to be like, give me the food. And we're all
That's
little as well. Like, guys, Adam is like 6 foot a million something.
free.
And me and my whole family are little. But yeah, it's a whole interesting topic. I want to ask you about how to deal with peer pressure from friends and family, especially, I think, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, because that's the time when you tend to see everyone and they're all like, go on, have another slice.
Yeah. I think my best tip is, and this is the same if someone's going on holiday, it's the same tip I give them
Mm.
when they're going away, is before you go to your parents' house on Christmas Day, frame how you want that day to be. So before you even go, you frame it to say like, I'm going to completely relax and enjoy myself. Or you say you're going to enjoy yourself a little bit, but try and keep a lid on things. Or you frame it as like, I'm being strict today. The benefit of doing this, it seems small, but if you're going to your parents' house and you say like, and you go for option one, you say, I'm completely relaxing today. The benefit of doing this, it removes the guilt because you've already framed it. You said this is a day of relaxing, so you don't feel guilty for it. On the flip side, if you said that you're going to try and just keep a lid on it, you go in there with good intentions and you're sort of like framing what you want to get out of the day. Because sometimes it's the guilt of the foods. But if you've already framed it that you're going to relax, or if you've done the opposite and you framed it, you're going to be strict, you're going in there with that thought process before of like, right, I'm going to stay strict. And if that's on your mind before you walk in and you already start of premeditating like how you're going to deal with the situation, what you're going to do, you might nominate yourself to say, I'm going to drive today, because that gets rid of the whole alcohol. It's really simple, like wild card to play, isn't it? You almost like can frame it how you want. So yeah, that's one of my tips. But it is hard. I've been in that situation before, and you get comments, don't you? And sly comments of, oh, do this, just do this. Oh, go on, you're boring. I totally get that. But hopefully if you communicate with your family properly, like if you are trying to be strict and you tell them that, you would like to think they would respect your boundaries a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because it does depend on family to family. And, I really like the idea of framing it though. Like if you have this idea in your mind of how you want it to go, I think that's really great. 'Cause then, if you are deciding to be strict, that's okay. You're like, oh, it's not for me today. That's fine. And I think half the time, we worry about what other people are going to think about us, but if you go into like a party or something, no one even notices.
Yeah.
They don't know that you haven't had any cake or that you're not drinking alcohol, or like people don't really notice, I think.
Just out of curiosity, what do you do on Christmas Day? Are you
I
complete?
relax. I
Yeah.
relax completely. Yeah. We always go out. We always go out and get fresh air, go for a run, because with two kids, you can't stay in all day. They're just two boys. They drive you up the walls. We do that. Go for a lovely walk, play outside, and then just relax. Our first thing that we do, I'm interested to see what you do on Christmas Day. The first thing we do is we have a special coffee, which is a latte with Baileys and cream. That's our first indulgence on
Nice.
Christmas Day. That's our tradition. What do you
Nice.
do? How do you play it?
Well, presents first, obviously with Arthur, the little man, and then it's always a walk. So I've always had dogs most of my life, even when I lived at home. My parents always had dogs. We always get out for a walk. But yeah, when we got back from the walk, I just fully relax, indulge.
Yeah.
I can put away a lot of food. And Christmas is my favourite meal. Like the combination of the cranberry sauce and the turkey and the potato, the
Oh,
dauphinoise
yeah.
potatoes, all that. I absolutely love it. So I just, I indulge. I have, to be honest, because I have got a gym in my garage. Sometimes I will just go on the rowing machine for like 20 minutes, sometimes on Christmas, or definitely on like Boxing Day. I'll just do like a
Yeah.
tiny bit. And that's not me doing it because I'm worried about the calories that I've consumed or anything like that, or worried about my body fat percentage. I just genuinely love to train. And when I train, it just clears my head, and I go and have a shower, and sometimes I just feel better for doing that. So I might do like a really small workout. But generally for me, like Christmas and Boxing Day are drinking alcohol, eating
Yeah.
chocolate, full works, often finishing on the sofa feeling like bloated and overindulged. And then when you fall, you eat more, don't you? Like, oh, why am I
Yeah.
doing this? But you just like keep going anyway. It's just have to change your trousers, get your Joey trousers on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Christmas
what I do.
outfit.
And then just try and get back on track on the 27th. So I always just try and get back in the gym. And over the years, I've always, in my like clients Facebook group as well, I've always put a huge emphasis on it. Like, right, everyone, I hope you've had a good 2 days. And I don't put pressure on anybody to like stay on track for those 2 days. But then
Yeah.
my whole message is like, right, get back in the gym today, get back on the 27th, go and get a workout done. What you don't want to do is then overindulge on the 27th and the 28th, the 29th, and suddenly you maybe have had 2 weeks of not going to the gym.
Yeah.
Like I said at the start, you've got no momentum, and you're just like, oh, it feels like you've got a mountain to climb in January.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think it's important to have that kind of definition as well. Like something Jack and I have in the recent years started doing is we set days are like right, we're going to indulge on these days, and then the other days we'll be a bit more flexible, but eat good nutrient dense foods and maybe just have like a small treat. Whereas Christmas Day and Boxing Day, anything goes. We're going to have a drink, we're going to indulge and have fun. But then in between the times of Boxing Day and New Year's, because that's another big one as well, that do you indulge New Year's Eve? Do you enjoy it, or do you sort of stay on track?
I mean, for the last 11 years, obviously I've been with my wife Amy, and we're in bed for like 9, 10 o'clock on a New Year's Eve. So
No.
Sometimes we've often gone out for lunch earlier in the day, but obviously since having my son Arthur as well, he's 7 now, so his bedtime's 7:30, 8 o'clock. So it's not a big
Yeah.
night. I think that's the same for a lot of families, because it's also so expensive nowadays, isn't it? If you go out, everything's overpriced. It's never really appealed to me. Obviously, when I was younger and you used to party back in the day, it's very different. But
Yeah.
now, like married and kids, New Year's Eve is not a big one. It's sometimes on New Year's Day we'll always get together. Sometimes go to Amy's parents or my parents, and obviously there'll be cheese, crackers, leftover foods.
Oh.
That's another high calorie day. So yeah.
This is the first year that Jack and I are going out New Year's Eve.
Oh, check you out.
Yeah, ever. Because when we first got together, very quickly, we fell pregnant with Lawrence, and then we just didn't get, to celebrate it together. Last year, we did an early celebration and a pretend countdown on our projector, so the boys could kind of like get excited about New Year, and we all went to bed early. But this year, we're going to stay in a spa, and my mum's got the boys, and I'm going to have a drink. So,
Yeah.
gonna have a dance, a party.
Very nice. Yeah, doing more
Yeah.
than me then.
Yeah, woohoo! I want to ask you. So I know you've kind of talked about this, about exercising on Christmas Day. Do you think it's a necessity? Do you think it's okay if people don't do anything on Christmas Day? Like, should you feel guilty
like
about that?
100%. Do what makes you happy.
Mm.
Do what. If you want to stay in your pajamas all day and you never feel guilty for it. But for a large, I think this is where some people get it wrong when they look at fitness people. They think people are doing it because they feel like they have to. And a
Yeah.
lot of people, like when I go on holiday, I train. I don't do that because I'm desperate to stay in shape or I want to. I'm doing that because I love to train. Like it's probably the one thing amongst other hobbies as well, but it's the thing that I genuinely love. So I go on holiday and I train because I love training and I enjoy doing it. And sometimes if I do get a very quick workout in on Christmas or Boxing Day, I'm doing it because I want to. And I just think you should do what makes you happy. I know a lot of people aren't fortunate enough, maybe they haven't got family around them or whatever it is. And, I've known loads of clients. So, over the years, go to the gym in the morning because it can be as much as it's a amazing day for a lot of people, it's also a sad day for a lot of people. So sometimes actually going to the gym to clear your mind mentally is one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, that's a really important point there, that everyone does have a different situation, and Christmas is a joyful time, but it's not for everybody. And I think it is situational. Like, you have to do what's best for you in your situation, and if that's, maybe you are on your own, maybe going to the gym will be the best thing for you to do and it'll make you feel amazing. Or if you're like myself, you've got kids, sometimes having a kitchen dance party, that's what it's all about. Like, getting some movement in, putting some Christmas tunes on, getting the kids moving. That's it then.
Love it.
Do you have any kind of final notes that you want to share? Any points, any important pieces of wisdom that you could pass on to people?
No, I guess really the take home of the biggest, I'd like to think one of the biggest messages that's come across from the podcast is to, one, not feel guilty when you do overindulge, because I think guilt makes it worse. But then also just understanding that you are, how you look and how you hold yourself and your weight today and your body fat percentage is all a reflection of what you do the majority of the time. So, if you're consistent throughout the year, then just don't feel guilty at Christmas. Go and have it, but then just make sure that you get back on track. And that's the main thing. Just always, as long as you always bounce back. And if you can feel things slipping away from you, like maybe you don't make it to the gym on the 27th and you're like, oh, I know I should have, and you don't make it to the gym on the 28th, just try and stay away from this mindset of like, oh, I'll leave it till January. You know,
Yeah.
like a lot of people do that. I'll start it on Monday. I'll start when I'm quiet. Just do it straight away. Just like rip the plaster off, get into the gym as soon as you can, or eat a good healthy meal again as soon as you can, and you'll never regret it.
I think that the worst thing, like you said, is in your head. It's thinking about it, isn't it? And like when you're there, you'll actually feel so much better for doing it, for moving. But when you're feeling like maybe it's the day after Boxing Day, and you're like feeling a bit sluggish, you don't really want to, I can't be bothered. It's like taking action, jumping up, just doing it. You will feel better for doing something, even if it's like you said, 20 minutes. That's better than nothing. 10 minutes.
Yeah. Or if you struggle to be self-motivated, because I know we are both self-motivated, so we train on our own, like you do. Or when you're doing your triathlon or your cardio, you do that on your own. You could just sit in your lounge and cycle, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I'm the same. I've trained on my own for years. I like that, but a lot of people struggle. So if you're listening to this and you do struggle, that maybe just plan in, activities. If it's like paddle is so popular now, whether it's tennis, badminton, five-a-side football with the lads, just plan, or a dog walk with your family, just plan in something so you're going to get some movement in, and if you go and pre-book a game of five-a-side football or a game of paddle and you book it in for the 28th and you're doing that with 3 other mates, you've got a layer of accountability on that like, I've got to go because I've booked that. And I think that can be a good tip, to just go back to the first point that I made, just keep momentum throughout December.
Yeah, that's it. Because momentum can work either way, can't it? Like
True.
the power of momentum, you can be on a good trajectory or the momentum can take you down the other way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that really rounds up our episode today. You've answered every question that I've had, and I really hope that our listeners really, get a lot out of this episode. If you have any questions, send them to Adam on Instagram. He can answer your questions.
Yeah, well, I was going to say my Instagram handle, if you don't know, it's at Adam James and then Parr, Parr.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been
Okay.
a really insightful episode. I feel like I've learned a lot from it, so it's been just for me, really.
Well, I hope it's helped someone else as well. So
Yeah, and to all our listeners, I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and join in to next week for the next episode.